We have heard of an architect of considerable accomplishments, a man who had improved himself by long study and travel in the classical lands of the East, who came home to commence the practice of his profession. He determined to begin anywhere, provided he could be employed. And he accordingly undertook a business connected with dilapidations, one of the lowest and least remunerative departments of the architect's calling. But he had the good sense not to be above his trade, and he had the resolution to work his way upward, so that he only got a fair start. One hot day in July a friend found him sitting astride of a house roof occupied with his dilapidation business. Drawing his hand across his perspiring countenance, he exclaimed, "Here's a pretty business for a man who has been all over Greece." However, he did his work, such as it was, thoroughly and well. He persevered until he advanced by degrees to more remunerative branches of employment, and eventually he rose to the highest walks of his profession. The necessity of labor may, indeed, be regarded as the main root and spring of all that we call progress in individuals, and civilization in nations. And it is doubtful whether any heavier curse could be imposed on man than the complete gratification of all his wishes without effort on his part, leaving nothing for his hopes, desires or struggles. The feeling that life is destitute of any motive or necessity for action, must be of all others the most distressing and insupportable to a rational being. The Marquis de Spinola asking Sir Horace Vere what his brother died of, Sir Horace replied, "He died, sir, of having nothing to do." "Alas!" said Spinola, "that is enough to kill any general of us all." Those who fail in life are however very apt to assume a tone of injured innocence, and conclude too hastily that everybody excepting themselves has had a hand in their personal misfortunes. An eminent writer lately published a book, in which he describes his numerous failures in business, naively admitting, at the same time, that he was ignorant of the multiplication table. And he came to the conclusion that the real cause of his ill success in life was the money-worshipping spirit of the age. Lamartine also did not hesitate to profess his contempt for arithmetic. But, had it been less, probably we should not have witnessed the unseemly spectacle of the admirers of that distinguished personage engaged in collecting subscriptions for his support in his old age. Again, some consider themselves born to ill luck, and make up their minds that the world invariably goes against them without any fault on their own part. We have heard of a person of this sort, who went so far as to declare his belief that if he had been a hatter people would have been born without heads. There is however a Russian proverb which says that misfortune is next door to stupidity. And it will often be found that men who are constantly lamenting their luck, are in some way or other reaping the consequences of their own neglect, mismanagement, improvidence, or want of application. Dr. Johnson, who came up to London with a single guinea in his pocket, and who once accurately described himself in his signature to a letter addressed to a noble lord, as impransus, or dinnerless, has honestly said, "All the complaints which are made of the world are unjust. I never knew a man of merit neglected. It was generally by his own fault that he failed of success." Washington Irving, the American author, held like views. "As for the talk," said he, "about modest merit being neglected, it is too often a cant, by which indolent and irresolute men seek to lay their want of success at the door of the public. Modest merit is, however, too apt to be inactive, or negligent, or uninstructed merit. Well-matured and well-disciplined talent is always sure of a market, provided it exerts itself. But it must not cower at home and expect to be sought for. There is a good deal of cant too about the success of forward and impudent men, while men of retiring worth are passed over with neglect. But it usually happens that those forward men have that valuable quality of promptness and activity without which worth is a mere inoperative property. A barking dog is often more useful than a sleeping lion. Attention, application, accuracy, method, punctuality, and dispatch are the principal qualities required for the efficient conduct of business of any sort. These, at first sight, may appear to be small matters. and yet they are of essential importance to human happiness, well-being, and usefulness. They are little things, it is true. But human life is made up of comparative trifles. It is the repetition of little acts which constitute not only the sum of human character, but which determine the character of nations. And where men or nations have broken down, it will almost invariably be found that neglect of little things was the rock on which they split. Every human being has duties to be performed, and, therefore, has need of cultivating the capacity for doing them. Whether the sphere of action be the management of a household, the conduct of a trade or profession, or the government of a nation. The examples we have already given of great workers in various branches of industry, art, and science, render it unnecessary further to enforce the importance of persevering application in any department of life. It is the result of everyday experience that steady attention to matters of detail lies at the root of human progress. And that diligence, above all, is the mother of good luck. Accuracy is also of much importance, and an invariable mark of good training in a man. Accuracy in observation, accuracy in speech, accuracy in the transaction of affairs. What is done in business must be well done. For it is better to accomplish perfectly a small amount of work, than to have to 10 times as much. A wise man used to say, "Stay a little, that we may make an end the sooner." Too little attention, however, is paid to this highly important quality of accuracy. As a man eminent in practical science lately observed to us, it is astonishing how few people I have met with in the course of my experience, who can define a fact accurately. Yet in business affairs, it is the manner in which even small matters are transacted, that often decides men for or against you. With virtue, capacity, and good conduct in other respects, the person who is habitually inaccurate cannot be trusted. His work has to be gone over again. And he thus causes an infinity of annoyance, vexation, and trouble. It was one of the characteristic qualities of Charles James Fox, that he was thoroughly painstaking in all that he did. When appointed Secretary of State, being piqued at some observation as to his bad writing, he actually took a writing master, and wrote copies like a schoolboy until he had sufficiently improved himself. Though a corpulent man, he was wonderfully active at picking up cut tennis balls, and when asked how he contrived to do so, he playfully replied, "Because I am a very painstaking man." The same accuracy in trifling matters was displayed by him in things of greater importance. And he acquired his reputation, like the painter, by neglecting nothing. Method is essential, and enables a larger amount of work to be got through with satisfaction. Method, said the Reverend Richard Cecil, is like packing things in a box. A good packer will get in half as much again as a bad one. Cecil's dispatch of business was extraordinary, his maxim being, "The shortest way to do many things is to do only one thing at once." And he never left a thing undone with a view of recurring to it at a period of more leisure. When business pressed, he rather chose to encroach on his hours of meals and rest than omit any part of his work. DeWitt's maxim was like Cecil's, one thing at a time. "If," said he, "I have any necessary dispatches to make, I think of nothing else till they are finished. If any domestic affairs require my attention, I give myself wholly up to them till they are set in order." A French minister, who was alike remarkable for his dispatch of business and his constant attendance at places of amusement, being asked how he contrived to combine both objects, replied, "Simply by never postponing till tomorrow what should be done today." Lord Brougham has said that a certain English statesman reversed the process, and that his maxim was, never to transact today what could be postponed till tomorrow. Unhappily, such is the practice of many besides that minister, already almost forgotten. The practice is that of the indolent and the unsuccessful. Such men, too, are apt to rely upon agents, who are not always to be relied upon. Important affairs must be attended to in person. "If you want your business done," says the proverb, "go and do it." If you don't want it done, send someone else. An inland country gentleman had a freehold estate producing about 500 a year. Becoming involved in debt, he sold half the estate, and let the remainder to an industrious farmer for 20 years. About the end of the term the farmer called to pay his rent, and asked the owner whether he would sell the farm. "Will you buy it?" asked the owner, surprised. "Yes, if we can agree about the price." "That is exceedingly strange," observed the gentleman. "Pray, tell me how it happens that, while I could not live upon twice as much land for which I paid no rent, you are regularly paying me 200 a year for your farm, and are able, in a few years, to purchase it?" "The reason is plain," was the reply. "You sat still and said go, I got up and said come. You laid in bed and enjoyed your estate, I rose in the morning and minded my business,